Now, XXXTentacion just surpassed Drake. That's kinda crazy. You might be wondering, what do you mean surpassed? Well, let's talk about it. Now, what if I told you that XXXTentacion has officially the most streamed hip-hop album on Spotify right now? Would you believe me? What if I told you that he ended up surpassing Drake? Would you believe me? Yesterday, some stats came in that confirms just that. X has officially surpassed Drake for the most streamed hip-hop album in history on Spotify. Chart Data, which is a very credible source, put up a tweet yesterday saying XXXTentacion's ? Is now the #1 most streamed hip-hop album in Spotify history, surpassing Drake's Scorpion. Scorpion by Drake was the most streamed hip-hop album on Spotify for a while. I mean, the album had over 4.2 billion streams on Spotify almost 6 months after its release, which is crazy. It got streamed over 132 million in the first 24 hours of the project being out, and it was getting around 10 million streams hourly. I guess we shouldn't be surprised because it's Drake after all. The man who does insane numbers in his sleep, the man who always seems to not only break records, but hold them most of the time as well. But here we are right now. ? by XXXTentacion does the impossible and surpasses Drake. Now let's take a look at the actual numbers. So in front of us right now we have the 10 most streamed albums on Spotify of all time. Obviously we're not going to focus on all these other albums, so let's take them away. So ? by X is sitting at 7,884,000,000 and something streams. Scorpion is right around there as well. We're talking 7,883,000,000. So there's not a lot of space between them at all. ? is averaging close to 4 million streams daily, while Scorpion is averaging around 2.2 million daily streams. So if both albums continue on this trajectory, ? is gonna stay on top for sure. Now that's unless Drake decides to randomly post the album on IG or some. If that happens, I guess it was fun while it lasted. But this is crazy news though, man. A lot of people forget that X was recognized in the industry on a large scale for less than 2 years. Most artists who break these kind of records are 9 times out of 10 household names who've been around for years, got at least a couple albums under their belt. But for X, he dropped 17 back in August 2017, and then boom, March he dropped ? And then a couple months after that is when we unfortunately lost him. Denying the impact his death had on the success he saw after the fact, that's impossible to deny, right? So we gotta talk about it. An artist dying is honestly the #1, I guess, cloud boost. Yes, it is unfortunate that it has to be like that, but it's reality. The death gets sensationalized in the media, the music ends up reaching an audience that would have most likely never found out about him if they hadn't died. This is something that always comes up in his conversation in regards to X. Would have he gotten accomplishments like these if he was still here? Honestly, I don't think this particular album would have gotten as big as it did, just for the simple fact that X would have kept on dropping music, and that would have most likely drowned out the impact of the last release, in his case ? What happens when an artist drops an album and then ends up dying? Well, all the attention goes to that last release. The music gets an insane surge of streams like ? did, so we can't ignore the impact X's passing had on the success of the project. Here's the thing though, him being here would have allowed him to actually break down more barriers in the industry. He would have obviously had an extensive catalog leading up to this point. He would have diversified his influence in the industry as well. So X, I think, would have gotten bigger with time if he continued on the path he was on. The same could be said for the late Juice WRLD, who I honestly think was just getting started. But just like X, Juice would have gotten bigger and bigger with time, but the question still stands. Would have Juice WRLD sold 497K first week with Legends Never Die if he hadn't passed? Highly unlikely, and that's just the nature of the kind of impact an artist's death could have on the success they get posthumously. Regardless of that, this is a huge accomplishment, Drake aside, because this is more about XXXTentacion's legacy and the reach his music is having all these years later. I wonder if ? is gonna stay on top though. This news, I think, will probably bump up the daily streams because the fans want to keep that placement. But how long is that gonna last over time? I guess only time will tell. With that being said, ? by XXXTentacion was a great project, and I wasn't too crazy about this project when it dropped. I feel like the album has been aging like fine wine. It's clearly standing the test of time, numbers don't lie. So many dope records on here, had one ultra big hit, which was sad. Aside from that, it's a great album that deserves all the praise, and I won't be surprised if people are still spinning this album 5 years down the road. It's coming up on its 4-year anniversary and it's breaking some crazy records. That goes for something. Shout out to John Cunningham, who's the executive producer of this project. Without this guy, this album would have not been what it is. He's essentially the secret sauce to this project. He did a crazy job on the production, so he most definitely deserves a lot of praise as well. But yeah, XXXTentacion surpasses Drake. Pretty crazy, man, I can't even lie. Like we covered, Question Mark by XXXTentacion has officially become the most streamed hip-hop album in Spotify history. In the process of getting there, X ended up surpassing Drake's Scorpion album for that #1 spot. Any thoughts on this? Definitely let me know in the comment section below, and let's have a discussion about this.